David Price versus John McDermott. Now, this fight is taking place this Saturday, January 21st, here in the UK, between unbeaten British heavyweight prospect David Price and British domestic level veteran John McDermott. This is probably a decent measuring stick for David Price at this stage of his career. Now, me personally, I think that he should have been moved quicker than he has been moved in his career in terms of the level of competition and the amount of fights he's been having per year since he turned professional. He's been moved pretty slow. I know he changed management and whatnot and promotion, but even so, I think he should have been moved quicker than he has been moved. And the fact that he hasn't, it makes you ask questions. Has he been hurt or, beaten up in sparring? What is it that his management have seen that have made him move, that have made them move him so slowly? Or is it just bad management? Is it just the management can't get the fights, or the promoter or whoever else can't get him the fights? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself. But, at this stage, in terms of the opponents he's faced up till now, John McDermott will be the best guy he's faced. And, for that reason, it's a good measuring stick to see where he's at in his development as a fighter. These two are both promoted by Frank Maloney, so they may well have sparred together, so they should be fairly familiar with each other. David Price should get through this one, and he's got to get through this one impressively if he's to fulfill all the hopes that a lot of people have for him on the UK boxing scene. A lot of people think he can go on to be the British version of, a Klitschko. He's a big guy, 6'8", he's athletic, strong, 250 pounds. That's like 18 stone or so in UK money. So, he's got the size. He was an Olympian. He was a bronze medalist at the Olympics. And, in the ring, he moves well. He's a pretty smooth boxer for such a big guy. Nice jab. Seems to have quite a bit of power in the right hand. Can actually put his punches together quite well. Very, very competent. Technically, he looks very competent in there. Obviously, there's still a long way to go. But in terms of his, raw natural ability, he actually looks, pretty smooth in the ring. I mean, he's for a guy of 6'8", he looks pretty smooth in there. I'd even say go as far as saying he looks smoother than the Klitschkos do. He's not as robotic in his style as they are. Not to say he's as good as they are, obviously, because, robotic or not, the Klitschkos are very effective at what they do. The point I'm making is that Price's style is, slightly more attractive than the Klitschko style, especially, Vitali. Because obviously people are comparing Price to the Klitschkos so much because he's as big as them, if not bigger than them. And, he's athletic with it. He's not like a Tyson Fury or, who's kind of fat or pudgy or whatever. Or he's not like a Deontay Wilder who's skinny as hell. He's not like that. He's literally built like a Klitschko, but a bit bigger, So in this fight with McDermott, McDermott's coming off a good win against Larry Olubamiwo. Olubamiwo was some big 6'4", 260-pound heavyweight prospect here in the UK as well, who I don't think was really that good, and McDermott kind of exposed him. No disrespect to Larry, he's a nice guy, but I'm not really putting too much stock into that win for John McDermott. I know it looked good because Larry Olubamiwo was such a big, strong, powerful guy, but in terms of his actual skills and his experience, he didn't really bring much to the table. So, it's not really that shocking that someone like John McDermott could beat a guy like Larry Olubamiwo by first round knockout, which he did. In this fight, like I said, both of these guys are promoted by Frank Maloney, so they probably would have sparred at some stage. They'll probably be fairly familiar with each other's styles and what have you. I think David Price will probably deal with John McDermott fairly well in the early rounds. And he might be able to get a stoppage in the early rounds. He might be able to get a stoppage in the late rounds. But I think if John McDermott is going to be dangerous in this fight, me personally, I think it's more likely to be in the second half of the fight, because David Price has never been past 12 rounds, never been past 7 rounds, sorry. This fight is scheduled for 10. So if John McDermott can put a lot of pressure on, John McDermott is, kind of a slow, plodding guy on his feet. He's got fairly decent hand speed, for a guy of his shape, because he's kind of out of shape all the time. John McDermott, that's just the way he is. He's fat. That's how he is. His whole career, but he can go 12 rounds. He might look out of shape, but he has the stamina to go 12 rounds, or 10 rounds in this case. He's a veteran, of the 10 and 12 round distances, so he won't have any problem with stamina at all. In his fight with Tyson Fury, his second fight with Tyson Fury, he did gas a bit in that fight, but he says it was because he had was it glandular fever, or he had some type of illness, which I actually believe, because he's never seemed to gas before to me late in fights. So I tend to believe that. So I think the danger is going to come in the second half of the fight, if it goes that long for David Price. Assuming he doesn't have John McDermott all beat up in the second half of the fight. But, John McDermott usually keeps his hands up, tucks up nice and tight, and finds his way in with his own jab. John McDermott's about 6'2", 6'3". David Price is 6'8". So you can see the dynamic there. It's going to be David Price trying to keep John McDermott on the outside and pick him off with jabs and right crosses and left hooks. John McDermott's going to be trying to get in and tap Price on the chin. Now, Price had a reputation from the amateurs as having a weak chin, and I saw him in quite a few of his amateur fights, and I saw him dropped on at least 2 or 3 occasions and stopped in the Olympics as well. So, his chin is definitely in question. He's never been hit on the chin as a professional. So we may find out in this fight what his chin is like if McDermott can get close enough to land. And McDermott, as we know, as those of you who follow UK boxing know, he gave 2 tough fights to Danny Williams, and he gave 2 very tough fights to Tyson Fury. Now, Tyson Fury is pretty much the same size as David Price. And in the first fight, he really struggled to keep McDermott on the outside. Most people thought McDermott actually won that fight, even though Tyson Fury got the decision. In the rematch, Tyson Fury stopped McDermott. But again, he was still struggling to keep McDermott on the outside, although he did better than he did the first fight. I think David Price is stronger physically than Tyson Fury. I think he hits harder. I think his technique is better. And even though he hasn't fought the level of competition Tyson Fury has fought, there's no question about it. I know Tyson Fury has fought some bums as well, but he's also, fought McDermott twice, and he's beat Derek Chisora, albeit an out of shape Derek Chisora. So Tyson Fury has fought at a high level, and he's been more active than David Price. So it really is, at this stage of David Price's career, a good measuring stick to see where he's at. And I think it's difficult to say how it will go, because David Price has fought such poor competition that you really have no idea how he's going to react when he's in there with someone that can actually defend themselves and throw back. You really have no idea. But so it's like predicting a fight based on watching a guy on a heavy bag. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's kind of like that. It's like kind of seeing a guy on a heavy bag, and then predicting how he's going to deal with his next opponent, because he's really fought a bunch of heavy bags so far in his career. No disrespect to any of those guys, but in terms of, even domestic level, certainly world level or European level, these guys are heavy bags. So, I don't know. I think Price will win. If he doesn't, wow, where's he going to go? But I think Price will win. Wouldn't be surprised if he stops McDermott. But I think more than likely, the fight will go long and Price will have some difficult times late in the fight. He may even suffer a knockdown or some crisis late in the fight, but come through and get a 10-round decision, I think, in this fight. That's what I'm going to go for. He could knock him out earlier. I mean, like I said, McDermott's been knocked out before. He was knocked out in the first round by Matt Skelton. He was stopped by Tyson Fury, and neither of those guys has, to my mind, has the power of David Price. But I think McDermott was kind of green when he fought Matt Skelton. He wasn't really ready at that stage for that type of opponent. And I do believe what he said about Tyson Fury, in the Tyson Fury fight, that he was sick leading up to the fight. That's why he didn't have the stamina and strength. And also, John McDermott is a guy who mentally seems to go into fights not in the right mind frame. But from what I've seen in the lead up to this fight, he seems to be in the right mind state to me. So I reckon he'll hang in there as long as you don't, as long as he's careful, he don't get clipped with anything too big too early. I think he'll hang in there and give David Price an interesting fight. But I see Price keeping him on the outside and maybe having some shaky moments, but probably coming through and winning a 10-round decision. Maybe stopping McDermott late. I'm going to go for a 10-round decision. I'll probably be completely wrong, but we'll see anyway. Let me know what you lot think about this fight. Do you think it's a good fight for Price? Do you think his career has been moved too slowly? Do you think his promoter's been protecting him? Or do you think that they just haven't been doing a good job in getting him good fights? Yeah, let me know what you lot think below in the comment section. This is Hatman. I'm out.